Hello everybody, I'm Sleepy, and guess what? I'm back! The great hiatus is over! Told you so! I'm harder to get rid of than anyone could have predicted. Still, I'm sure I had you all like...
I think everyone agrees it's been like a little ridiculous how long it's been.
But now that I'm back, I brought this gargantuan moveset with me, full of secrets and puzzles to fit the occasion. But holy crap, do I have a lot to say about this kid. Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. The N64 titles are not just some of the best games in the Zelda series, they are some of the best pieces of consumable media. Need I remind you that this game is widely considered the greatest game ever made. Its reputation is legendary. They're less like games and more like divine idols, impossibly huge and untouchable. These are titles that paved the way for modern video games and whose ingenious stories touched the hearts and shaped the childhoods of millions. They're also games that brought the Zelda series into a whole new direction for ages, and Young Link here carries the responsibility of repping both of the N64 games. Much more so, I think, than Ganondorf, and he was surprisingly hard to redesign. Ignoring the upload gap in my channel, that's not what some of you assumed. It kind of infuriated me how many times I heard it suggested, even among friends. Young Link? Oh, he's simple. Just keep the old moveset. A faster, weaker Link, right? That's good. No! Do you know what I do here? This is about what he represents for gaming and why he deserves to stay in alongside Toon Link. The Hero of Time is a character that simply has too much potential to ignore. Why you would want to water him down so much is beyond me. And this video exists to try to realize that potential no matter how fantastical. I came up with pages upon pages of ideas and even completely different designs that I had to scrap, and at the time, I was only looking at moveset potential from Majora's Mask. One game, and I still had to equally represent Ocarina of Time. That's hard because there's such different experiences. Ocarina of Time is a traditional hero's tale of growing up and overcoming challenges in life. You ride around a giant open field, seeing diverse locations and kingdoms while fixing the land of Hyrule one good deed at a time. It feels triumphant and grand with bittersweet undertones. Meanwhile, Majora's Mask takes place mainly in a town. There are other wonderful places in Termina, there's still cool locations and riding around, but no matter where you go, you still feel trapped. The people living here already accept this inescapable dread as a fact. It makes you wonder if they have a point, and that the world really is fated to end. And if it is, then what's the point of fighting back? Majora's Mask can be straight up nihilistic. It's neurotic, and in the context of the story being so different, the gameplay also makes several major changes to fit the tone. A lesson I learned in my time away is to not fear failure because you cannot grow without failing, and I think this game teaches a similar lesson without ever telling you. In order to succeed in Majora's Mask, you have to fail, and not in some scripted cutscene where you're too weak or something. You will fail as a player. Through your gameplay, you are responsible for what happens and you get to see the repercussions of those failures. Like, here you are in the Great Bay Temple. This place sucks. It's taking a lot longer than you thought it would. You started yesterday and now you're nearing the end of day 3. You got through a bunch of side quests on day 1, but there's way more you haven't gotten to yet. But it's up to you to decide if you can beat this temple fast enough and save. You will be put in situations like this, and guess what? Maybe you once again overestimated yourself. Time's up, you're barely too late, and now all of what you did is literally pointless because the moon crashes into Termina and kills you and everyone that you know. Sure, you lost some progress, and that sucks as much as a game over in any game, but thanks to the unforgettable game over cutscene and Majora's Mask's ability to immerse you into its world, you can't help but think deeper on the implications of your simple screw-up when you reload and see the citizens you've gotten very used to back and acting as they always have, unaware that you just let them die. And yeah, that's a horrific thought experiment that might creep into your head whenever you manipulate a save point to prevent disaster in any game, and Majora's Mask isn't the only game to ever do this, nor is it necessarily the best. It's an old game. These guys didn't exactly get Game of Thrones level character development. But I think the difference for most people is that it's not just a standard save system. Link himself remembers every reset. The time travel is a game mechanic, and it's woven into the story and world itself, and as your main character, it's easier to connect with his perspective on this. And from his eyes, you will let the citizens of Termina down over and over on the path to completing the game. People will die, spirits remain trapped, the Gorons go hungry, this old lady gets mugged, Anju and Kafei perish alone, wondering why they couldn't be together, and for God's sake, Romani gets abducted! Who even knows what happened to her? I don't want to think about it! Every single person in this world has a life and a schedule, just like you. The fact that your decisions as a player dictates the life of everyone in Termina like this, it's genuinely amazing and heavy and mind-blowing and revolutionary and super meta, and did I mention yet, I really adore these games. I desperately wanted to make a video on them before this one, but too many development issues made me scrap it, which is a shame, because there is a lot of depth to Majora's Mask. There's a massive world full of adventure and side quests and a battle for the fate of the world to stop Skull Kid in 3 days. But in real-world time, that goes by in 72 minutes. So you will be using the Song of Time to reset a lot. You will see people live out their fated paths over and over again, watching all of the suffering in Termina over and over, being the only one capable of breaking this time loop and saving the world. This is insane! Link is still a goddamn child! He doesn't need this! He needs a therapist! And so do I! This game is very stressful. I think I would have been miserable without a guide. There's so much to keep track of. Items, money, time, your notebook, who've you talked to? Was that in the right order? Is this place active right now? Did I run out? Did I miss my chance? It's anxiety on a cartridge, I swear. A twisted part of me wishes that the pause menu didn't stop time, because then you would have to be on your toes 24/7. Or I suppose 24/3. But I sure as hell paused a lot when I played, so maybe we need it. What's great is that it's not a game just for masochists, because underneath the depression and anxiety of Majora's World, we have a true 3D Zelda sequel, one that's more complex and in some ways more fun to play than the one that came before. You have an arsenal of items, songs, and masks, some of which transform you and give you access to more moves. Majora's Mask is deep in every way a sequel should be. It's no surprise it's considered by many to be the peak of Zelda in terms of gameplay, puzzles, and story. Anyway, let's get back to why the heavy difference between Ocarina and Majora's gameplay creates a difficult-to-mesh moveset, and why I even care about representing his Ocarina version at all. Actually, the clock is ticking for me, and we need to start the actual moveset, so I might have to explain why I chose to do that some other time. Let's first address the elephant in the room. To many, Young Link should stay the same and be a legacy character, while Skull Kid comes in and uses all these different masks and basically reps the game for him. And I kinda like that, but one, I just doubt we're getting Skull Kid. It's looking bleak for him. And two, it's at heart still a Link moveset, pasted onto someone else. I don't like adding characters just to fulfill or retain a function. It pads the roster, and this example especially doesn't sit well with me. You're adding a brand new character, then making his entire moveset basically, what if Young Link used stuff from his game? Like, they're both in the roster, that robs both characters of a fitting moveset. I'd much rather them have Skull Kid represent himself over Majora's Mask. I think that's more fitting. And if Young Link has to be changed from the ground up to better represent him, then so be it. We're fortunate enough to have 3 Links that can all play incredibly different. I'll try not to change everything, there's a lot to like about Young Link, but I think in most cases, people who love a character for who they are adjust to moveset changes. It's tricky to build a good Young Link moveset without being completely foreign to the current Young Link player base. Truly a tall task to tackle! If you understand, then stick with me, and let's dive in with the visual overhauls. Young Link has a new victory screen, where he rides on Epona, then jumps off. It's a good place for Epona since his current entrance animation is already a cool reference. His victory theme would be a new rendition of the Song of Healing, Majora's Mask's most defining song in my opinion. And he gets a new costume where he dresses like Skull Kid, and another new costume loosely based on the statues from the Elegy of Emptiness. It looks insanely creepy and unsettling. I mean, imagine it moving towards you. Doesn't that make you all the more curious to see how it fights? Young Link might have the most interactive and unique taunts I've ever designed. I usually shy away from taunts that have functions in a moveset. I typically believe that if you need a niche filled, there are more elegant places to put those kinds of moves. However, these ones are just downright strange, and I think you'll agree with my choice in a moment. And the best part is, Even though they serve secondary functions and are weird and slow, they can still piss off your opponent, and isn't that what taunts are for? Anyway, the milk drink taunt Young Link does for his down taunt now takes longer, about 4 seconds, and you can't cancel it until he drinks at least half of it. Drinking half the bottle heals 6%, finishing the other half heals 12%. Up taunt has Young Link put on a random mask, pose, then take it off. It can be any one of these lucky winners. None of these masks do anything, and they just look nice. Canceling the taunt before taking off the mask lets you continue fighting with it on for a bit longer. Now, listen carefully, because this moveset's about to go off the rails. Side taunt locks Young Link in a state that lets him play his ocarina. Up, down, left, right, and A are assigned a sound, while shield or B cancels the taunt. This taunt comes with endless creative expression as well as Easter eggs if you play the right notes. This takes the form of a sound effect that indicates you played it right, like a horse neighing if you play Epona's song, or a distant thunderstorm for the Song of Storms. Only one Easter egg affects gameplay, the Song of Time. It would be really funny to let Link reset any match he feels like at the cost of his stuff, but that was too silly, even for me. Instead, playing the Song of Time transforms you into Adult Link, a whole ass different character who's not even on the character select screen. It's a funny reference to Ocarina of Time, but is horribly impractical. First, the long taunt animation makes it very punishable. Second, Adult Link is a straight port of Melee Link, and all the flaws that come with him. But if you want to whoop ass with a worse character that isn't even from this game, then enjoy your polygonal ass mid-tier, you tryhard. Also, yeah, you go back to Young Link if you die in that state. It's not permanent, so don't worry about that. Hey, listen! Young Link's got a buddy with him! Navi joins Young Link on the battlefield, as well as his character portrait. When close to an enemy, she turns green and flies around him to say some dumb shit. They make furry noises, but they don't actually have, legit voice lines. You gotta just make that up in your head. And after Young Link loses a stock, there's a 10% chance Navi is replaced by Tattle. While these two fairies are intangible and don't affect combat in any meaningful way, they make for nice visual flair, and, I'm glad they're here. Young Link's movement is like a Pichu situation, where it's not that crazy on paper, but in practice he looks super nimble and feels super hard to hit. Young Link has a slightly lower run speed, but weirdly enough he rarely ever feels legitimately slow. This is partly due to his more acrobatic animations that are new, but it's also his good initial dash. Initial dash is cracked! It's among the fastest and longest in the game, even beating out Mithra. I changed it to a forward roll. Many people suggest his roll as dash attack, and really that's cool, but making it the cornerstone of his mobility is cooler I think, and it's what ended up working better for this moveset. After one roll covering the distance of a battlefield platform, he gets up and starts running. Having this amazing burst range balances out his mid stats and makes him feel really unique to control. It also low profiles, making him tricky to pin down in neutral. Next, his fast fall speed is slightly higher now, increasing speed by 70%. His dodges are great too. Forward and back rolls are faster, having 2 frames less ending lag. Back roll's animation is a backflip like Champion Link. Spot dodge has 2 more frames of intangibility, which, again, just makes him really hard to hit. And on top of being really hard to hit, he can take hits a little bit better now because he gets a small weight increase, putting him on par with Marth. A new design change is weapon durability, as well as resource management in general. Yes, I'm doing it again. You start every match with full resources, but something you'll come to understand is that much like in Termina, nothing lasts forever. Young Link has a lot of stuff to keep track of. Like Champion Link, Young Link has a strong sword that breaks into a weak sword, so both Links hit harder than Toon Link, so long as their main weapon stays intact. And yes, this confirms that I didn't give all 3 of them the same gimmick. You're welcome. For Young Link's strong sword, I chose the Razor Sword. It was a natural fit since it has durability in Majora's Mask, but honestly, I would have picked it anyway just because it looks cool. Young Link's moves are still just as quick, so he'll be swinging this thing around and hitting you with long combos that do hefty damage. But while strong, it becomes dull after 9 strikes. Doesn't sound too bad at first. It's more than Robin. It's not like he needs many hits to start doing massive damage, and he doesn't lose durability when he whiffs. So that's great! But you gotta remember that since some of Young Link's attacks strike multiple times, this can run out quickly if you're not paying attention. It also loses to shields, because you lose durability if your move is blocked. Yeah, as a resource-dependent weapon, the Razor Sword certainly doesn't appreciate being compared to its peers. Sure, it helps you pick up kills, but it's not as long or powerful as Champion Link's Master Sword, and it has the massive downside of taking 40 seconds to regenerate on top of those limitations, far longer than its contemporary Link or Robin. In the meantime, you will be using the dinky old Kokiri Sword. If you bought into the propaganda that young Link can't kill, well, now it's actually true. It's very, very hard to kill with this piece of crap. It has some of the worst damage output in the game, so losing the Razor Sword is a significant handicap. I know that sounds bad, but I promise it'll make sense by the end, so stick with me. But alongside his new Razor Sword, he gets the Mirror Shield from Majora's Mask, one of the coolest looking shields in video game history. This new shield passively deflects projectiles. Note that I said deflect, not reflect. It's like Pit's down B versus his side B. At least it properly transfers ownership though, sorry Pit. Instead of always bouncing straight back, it goes in awkward, hard to predict directions. However, you can straighten the trajectory more by crouching. Deflection can be unpredictable, but it's still pretty useful. While the Mirror Shield doesn't consume durability, it's bonded with the Razor Sword, so when you lose that, you lose the shield too. But hey, at least you'll always have the trusty Deku Shield for backup. That's nice, right? Well, sure, but not only does this shield not deflect projectiles, it doesn't even block all projectiles. It has the funny and niche weakness of not being able to block fire-based ones. Now mind you, the Deku Shield doesn't burn up from fire attacks, the shield just doesn't activate, and he takes the damage as normal. I'd say that's better than losing both, but still, watch out for that. It's ironically reversed from the original game where the Mirror Shield was permanent, but the Deku Shield could break. So, even though you're getting really shown up by the Mirror Shield right now, I'll give you points for loyalty, Deku Shield. Anyway, next I want to talk about Young Link's normals and give you a graphic showing the damage for both swords, because there's just a hell of a lot of data here that I want to speed through to hold your attention. Also, again, subject to change. I seriously didn't learn my lesson from Champion Link. Balancing this thing was a massive pain. Jab 1 and 2 do slightly more damage. Throw a party, am I right? Jab 3 is stronger too, but that's a bit more impactful due to its role as a quick launcher. Rapid Jab was entirely removed because it doesn't really make sense to have on a character with sword durability. Hopefully the Jab 3 buff makes up for that though. Forward Tilt's power was tweaked and the sour spot was removed. F Tilt also hits lower so it can 2-frame now. Up Tilt's power was tweaked. It has less end lag and more shield stun, making it a supreme combo tool, especially the back hit. Down Tilt is the shield stab from Ocarina of Time. Now, it sucks to lose the old Down Tilt since that was one of my favorite moves on him, however, this new one is probably better. It's quick and cancels into itself, so it kinda just lets you mash on people. It's like if Ness's Down Tilt had a knife taped to his foot. Well, I guess it's not 1-to-1, but it's a funny mental image. Look at his little foot. It's probably more akin to Mii Sword Fighter's Down Tilt in most cases. Up close it sends forward and eventually sets up for tech chases, but Down Tilt also has a tipper that sends up, and at high percent will combo into, take your pick. And lastly, it has a hitbox that only triggers on a mistech specifically for jab locks. While no doubt fantastic, the new Down Tilt uses up the Razor Sword's durability very quickly if spammed, and while Kokiri Down Tilt is still good, it isn't broken. It really is like having Ness's Down Tilt with a knife in his foot. It doesn't launch people, and the sour spot is moved to the tip of the sword, which can be a pain. Down Tilt also increases your traction a lot during the duration to prevent Luigi-style slip and slide combos by canceling it from initial dash. But overall, a pretty solid new move. Dash attack sweet spot is now at the tip, and the sour spot is closer to him. The sour spot takes priority though, making it tough to kill with. However, the sour spot has less hit lag and a more vertical launch angle. Dash attack has less end lag too, which is a huge deal. It can combo into a lot more now. Forward smash is the overhead slash like Champion Link. Being a single hit will definitely help its consistency as well as not damaging the sword as much. Young Link's version is naturally faster and it can edgeguard since it goes off edges. It's definitely a commitment, but it's not always death because he can make it back to ledge with a wall jump.
Assuming we still allow walled stages.
Up smash's power was tweaked and it is now a 2-hit move rather than a 3-hit one. Down smash comes out faster, its power was tweaked, and these sour spots were removed. The back hit also sends up, which leads to nasty combos. Young Link got some buffs and nerfs so far, but his grab game is pretty much just a few buffs and that's all. His grabs come out a frame faster. Zair sends people in towards Young Link, that leads to some pretty dirty kill confirms. Up throw is dependent on the Razor Sword, so it's pretty terrible without it, but having it gives you a decent kill throw. Back throw has less knockback and end lag, so it now combos into back air if opponents DI in. And let's talk about those. I'm always excited to get to the aerials. We're gonna keep Young Link's neutral air the same. It's broken, which is kinda needed since having a neutral tool, combo move, combo breaker, kill move, etc. is deserved on a character like this who has to keep track of a lot of different variables. Nair does a lot of shit, and it doesn't use up any sword durability, which lets him play flexibly when used in conjunction with the sword and projectiles. It's something he can often rely on, and I want to keep that. Forward air's power is tweaked, and the sour spot is removed. Up air has a few less active frames, but that's really not bad for him because less total frames means you can act sooner. Back air wasn't changed either, which is great, as it's another good move that doesn't use his sword. It's visually one of my favorite aerials in the game. It's so satisfying to spam it and watch the kicks seamlessly flow into each other. Down air's power was tweaked. As you'd expect, Kokiri Dare is very weak, especially the late hit, and Razor Sword Dare is strong, especially the early hit. But Razor Dare also has a tiny sweet spot at the hilt, referencing his melee spike, though this one has a light effect instead of a fire effect. It's only barely stronger than the rest of the early hit, and still doesn't actually spike, so this isn't really a game changer, it's more so just a funny Easter egg you can try and hit for style points. And next are the specials, which is when things get crazy! Shield special is... somewhere? Oh dear. I could have sworn he had a shield special. The other Link had one, but I can't seem to remember it. Oh well. Let's try again later and move on for now. I don't want to lose momentum. Neutral special is the bow! It's crazier than it sounds, okay? As you can see, the design is now modeled after the Majora's Mask version. The bow also now fires light arrows instead. I figure young Link doesn't need fire arrows anymore since I put them in Champion Link's moveset, so this is more unique. Plus, the light arrows are pretty and I like looking at them. But are they better? I'd say so. Light arrows charge quicker than vanilla arrows and have more shield stun, so it's a bit safer. Fully charged light arrow is much stronger than before, and the launch angle is a little more horizontal when charged. It's a legit kill option if they get sniped. I think the best part though is that you can cancel the move when charged. It won't get stored for later, but it's still really useful. But all this sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? Well, you're right. Any kill move that doesn't involve his sword is very valuable, but it's in short supply. You can fire 5 light arrows, then it takes 13 seconds to restock. When you charge an arrow, it briefly shows you how many arrows are left, similar to Wonder Wing. When he's out of arrows, he'll switch to the Nikki Slingshot from Ocarina of Time, which is pretty much a nerfed version of arrow. It's weaker, has less hit stun, you can't cancel it, and it looks way less cool, which is the biggest nerf if you ask me. But you have infinite ammo on the Slingshot, so it's always reliable for zoning. Side special is... Boomerang? Again? Not as wild as I expected. Well, there's not that many items in Ocarina of Time, so it was probably this or something stupid like the Deku Stick. No offense, Deku Stick. But it's probably for the best anyway, as Boomerang is one of Vanilla Young Link's best moves, and having moves like Nair and Side B not really change acts to sort of anchor him. It provides stability since so much else is completely new and experimental. Boomerang doesn't have an upgraded form, but it has infinite durability, which contributes to his strong neutral game. It deals slightly more shield damage, and foes hit by the Boomerang have a blue tint while in hit stun as a cute Ocarina of Time reference. Up special is Hero Spin. It's basically the same move as usual, but a lot better. It deals more damage, and the finisher has a much bigger hitbox along with a substantial knockback buff. This makes him harder to edgeguard, as well as letting him get criminally early stocks off the side. The grounded version comes out a frame faster and has less hits, now only hitting 3 times. That's a double-edged sword because less hits means less damage and substantially less active frames than before, but it also makes it harder to punish if you whiff. But what's cool is that charging up B makes it add more hits to the move proportional to how long you charge it. That makes it more damaging, more active, and harder to parry, but also depletes your sword faster, so it's a trade-off you have to make. Young Link still pulls a bomb for down special, but now he has the upgraded Bombchu to play with. If it's available, Link can hold down B to pull up a Bombchu like an HDR. Pulling Bombchu is a bit laggier than usual, and the knockback is not nearly as high as this shit. While not as good as the item version, Bombchu is a really strong tool to have for pretty obvious reasons. It can be held in his hand indefinitely, and it's a throwable killing projectile that does 14% and gives Link free stage control. Kinda hard to go wrong with that. But once you throw it, you can't summon another one for 13 seconds. So what happens if you don't have Bombchu? Well, no worries. Link can chuck as many normal bombs as he wants, and these are actually still just as great as before. So wait, that's really it? We finished the normals and specials. Young Link really didn't change as much as I thought. Only a couple new moves. His core moveset is kinda just Young Link with cooldowns. Which sounds scary, because he's already well balanced, and it's tempting to think he just becomes this icky character with high highs and low lows. But I wanted to try a more nuanced approach than examples we've seen before. Sure, it kills, but I actually wanted Razor Sword's power level to be a step below Arsene, which was hard to balance around because the two characters are quite different. On the flip side, Kokiri's sword is truly awful, and since you'll be stuck with it for so long, some people will find him underwhelming. Young Link wishes it was as simple as just getting the strong sword and killing them instantly, but he's not like that. Even with these moments where he hits decently hard, he's still a well-rounded character who has to use the full extent of his moveset, and despite inconsistent kill power, there's a lot of ways to mix up his game plan and find kills through edge guards and tech chases using his good movement and strong neutral.
Objection, Mr. Swampert. Has it been so long that you forgot the power level that you balance the rest of the characters on? This character has to work ridiculously hard and has all this downtime where his moves become terrible. It's like even worse Robin syndrome, who sucks because of this. His sword takes ages to regenerate, and he can't spam his killing projectiles either because they also deplete. So, what exactly is this character supposed to do while he waits around for his stuff to return? Back air! This character is downright non-functional, not to mention boring. I waited all these years for this. I oughta...
Hey, now, anonymous viewer. I'll answer you soon enough. The moveset isn't quite over yet, after all, and I think that there's actually more at his disposal than you give him credit for. Yes, this character has to work harder than other characters to achieve a similar reward. That's true. Yes, this character cannot kill unless he has resources. True. Yes, he might even be one of the hardest characters in the game since you have more to keep track of and he has the unique hurdle of needing to memorize the order you used your moves. But as long as you're smart and mindful of your resource timer, you have the potential to be pretty terrifying. He's the kind of character that would take years to master. He's hard, but rewards memorizing what works where and when through trial and error. So you have to be willing to fail a lot and try again and experiment to, Hey, doesn't this sound familiar? I feel like I said this already. Hey, what sort of shield special did I forget to tell you about anyway? Haha, I bet you thought I was gonna do something with time travel, huh? Nope. As one of Majora's Mask's main gameplay mechanics, Young Link's transformation masks offer a lot of potential. But how would they work? Maybe a Deku Link up B? Zora side B? Maybe sprinkle in the transformations in his normals? Nah, that can't be how it's done. It looks bad visually, and it's not Beast Boy. There's a transformation process in the originals. Plus, a whole special move for one basic mask attack? Using this whole different form for one move kinda makes it a hollow version of what the original forms were. There's so many things from Majora's Mask that we'd be missing out on. Hell, you'd be missing out on a crap ton from just the form it's referencing. How would we fit in his dungeon tools and items? There's no way to realize all of his potential. At least, that's what I thought for a while. When redesigning Young Link, I realized I could scrap him and come up with an entire moveset for just Deku Link. I could make a moveset where he pulls from all the side characters of Clocktown. Maybe he can use magic. Maybe he can throw cuckoos. I could do one where he fights with his bare hands like the Giant's Mask, just for the fun of it. But none of it was very cohesive, and none of it accurately represented either N64 game all that well. It was too easy to lose track of what the moveset was trying to accomplish and what it needed. The only thing that was immediately obvious was that the masks need to be represented in Smash somewhere, and that I can't shortchange Ocarina of Time just for having less stuff. That's why pretty much this whole video so far has been Ocarina of Time. But now we get to the Majora side. Shield Special is Mask Change. Here's how it would work. 3 masks appear around you that can be selected like Shulk's Monado arts, and you transform by releasing B. It has a full animation, but you can skip it by doing any move. While selecting a mask, returning the stick to neutral then letting go of B brings you back to Hylian Link. Changing masks is regulated by 2 factors. One is a 15-second cooldown, and the other is a brand new magic meter that we'll talk about in just a moment. Now the cooldown is simple enough. Once you pick a mask, you're locked into it for a little while, and you can't go from, say, Deku Link straight into Goron Link without some time passing first. This makes transforming a commitment and forces you to think carefully before changing. It would be a devastating setback if you misinputted the wrong mask, so how do we address that? Well, you're allowed to switch back to Hylian Link no matter what. However, you still have to wait through the cooldown before getting a new switch. Why is switching put on a timer like this? Well, it is mainly because of how it ties into Young Link's magic meter, a new UI element that I've kept hidden from you this whole time. What's nice about the transformations is that they all rely on this magic meter. The 3 masks all have special attacks that use up magic. Those are some of your best moves, so the idea is to switch when you run low, because when switching from one mask straight to another, you instantly regain a large portion of magic. Your specials drop power from one place, making it really easy to hop between characters and know which moves you can use. The magic meter doesn't passively regenerate when you're wearing a mask though, only when playing as Hylian Link or from direct switching. It's a core aspect of the stance change dynamic and helps mitigate their cooldowns by rewarding you for switching as efficiently as possible. Hylian Link isn't limited by magic the way his transformations are, so he's good for switching into between mask cycles. Hylian Link is more messy though. He doesn't get many UI elements to tell you which of his items are recharged. All you get is a yellow flash, which could mean any one of your items. That's where memory and time management comes in big time. A large part of this design is inherently rigid, especially since you can't use a switch mid-air like Pokemon Trainer. I considered switching with Down B, but I'm stubborn, and I didn't want to work with a smaller moveset. So I designed the transformations around not being able to switch mid-air. Hopefully you're starting to see the focus of the moveset now. Young Link is a stance change / resource character with 4 distinct character archetypes packed into one that allows you to answer any situation given you have the brains and skill to pull it off. It's entirely possible to play each transformation equally, however if you're reckless with managing your resources, you may find yourself only able to play 1 or 2 mass transformations per stock. Hylian Link is designed as your anchor. He's good all around, possessing a little bit of all the aspects of his mass transformations in one. He doesn't have any major weaknesses, but his kill moves have cooldowns that pressure you into switching. He basically has 2 sides to him, whose mechanics reinforce each other positively and help a good player develop a sort of flowchart with well-timed switches and to always have what they need available. It's a very different take on a stance character than, for example, Pokemon Trainer. See, what I've learned from Pokemon Trainer is that no one knows when to switch. Almost every player from beginner to at least mid-level play sticks to one Pokemon for 90% of the match. And that's fine, since that's the intention of PT's design. Pokemon Trainer is about giving you that choice even if it isn't optimal. Choice and freedom is good. That's what people like about Pokemon Trainer. However, this design has a lot of moving parts. A stance character isn't the only thing that Young Link has going on, and if people just forgot to switch links, which I know they would, it undermines a lot of what I'm going for here. This design requires different balancing, leading to very different characters, you know? With all that said, let's talk about the first mask already. Deku Link belongs to a small race of forest creatures called Deku Scrubs, a subsection of the Deku race. Dekus are sentient, and their temperament ranges from peaceful to hostile, and they attack by hiding in leaves and shooting nuts at you. They're made of wood, and when attacked, they typically run away. Deku Scrubs are usually shy, but some buck this trend. Deku Link appears to lack power and wisdom, but his courage clearly shines through his actions. The people of Termina are counterparts to the people of Hyrule, and some theorize that Link's counterpart is the Deku Scrub that Skull Kid kills at the start of the game. I like that, since Link is forced into this form by Skull Kid, and he's freed once he comes to understand its soul. And because the Scrub was also far from home in a dangerous forest, we can tell that he was quite the adventurer like Link. I still believe that Link doesn't have one singular counterpart, but instead that many characters in Termina reflect him. Fortunately, all of the mask transformations feature green clothing, so it's easy to just change the color to match whichever Young Link color you picked on the character select screen. Some of the alts do have additional changes, like when you pick the dark Young Link alt, all of the transformations get black clothing, gray hair, and glowing red eyes. If you pick the orange Young Link costume, then Deku Link gets autumn colors, which references the Mad Scrub. Deku Link's crouch animation has him hide underneath leaves. When he shields, the animation has him hide away in his Deku Husk, making him incredibly hard to shield poke. These 2 animation quirks actually play into his playstyle very well, but we'll revisit that after we see the taunts. Up taunt has Deku Link hold out a slightly wilted flower. It's so cute, he wants you to have it! Side taunt has Deku Link use the Deku Pipes to play the Sonata of Awakening. Obnoxiously loud song and drowned out with background noise. It's a very long taunt, which I'm sure is normal by now, but will you shut up? Okay, so yeah, the song is automatic, and unlike the ocarina, you can't control it and play something else. If you complete the song without canceling it, you regain a small amount of magic. Down taunt has Deku Link pull out a bottle containing the Deku Princess. He shakes it, then giggles before putting her away again. It's a reference to a mission in Majora's Mask and shows off his more mischievous side. Deku Link is tiny. He's about the same size as Kirby, and he's roughly the same weight. He's an extremely hard-to-hit character that easily racks up damage and abuses his movement to play at his own pace. He has the speed to approach or retreat whenever he wants, and can annoy people at range with his projectile and anti-zoning tools. Deku Link struggles to kill, however, and he can die extremely early. He has great frame data but suffers from a lack of range. He mostly attacks with his hat due to his tiny limbs. And well, yeah, it's a disjoint technically, and that's nice. These are still really small and weak hitboxes, so he's kinda got the same problem as Young Link was running into with the Kokiri sword. But is the new speed worth it? He has a very low total jump height, which can be a detriment, but he has some of the best air mobility in the game, plus great ground movement, a good initial dash, and a good turnaround. His traction is below average, which makes it harder for him to punish things out of shield, but also improves his movement. Are you sensing a pattern? He's ridiculously quick for some reason. Gets it from his father, I guess. Also has a cute passive ability taking advantage of his light weight. Deku Link has the ability to traverse water. He can skip across it for up to 5 times before falling in. Jab is a basic 3-hit attack with his hat, 2 horizontal swipes and a swing up. It's weak and the end lag is low enough that the first 2 hits can be jab cancelled to start combos, but he can also do a rapid jab if he mashes. He spits seeds out quickly, which has more range than his other moves, making it good if you think jab 3 will miss. Forward tilt is a weak advancing combo move that has him pirouette into a hat strike. It comes out quickly and pretty much leads into whatever you want. It's one of his most important normals for sure. The only downside is a small hitbox as well as being unsafe on shield. Up tilt has him swing his hat from left to right. It's a very fast combo move with good coverage. Down tilt has Link lunge forward a small distance against the ground like a slightly more far-reaching Olimar down tilt. It's a decent move and all, but I like it mostly because it just looks funny out of his unique crouch. He bursts out of the leaves and scatters them like confetti. Just a cute visual, I think. Dash attack is Deku Link's scrub spin attack, the transformation's primary function when pressing A in Majora's Mask. It's a fast and weak multi-hit move and the final hit sends up for combos. An incredibly vital burst option that can lead to big damage and it crosses up shield. Forward smash is a spiky hat smack. Kinda reminds me of Piranha Plants but with less weight behind it. Up smash has Deku Link pull out the bottle containing the Deku Princess. He holds it up and she partially springs out, launching foes in the way. Not the strongest kill move, but a funny one. Down smash is a basic front to back swipe just like Hylian Link. It's fast, but as you could guess, it also isn't very strong. Grab has very pitiful range, so in exchange it has remarkably low end lag. Pummel is a quick headbutt that has weirdly high damage considering its speed. Down throw is simple. He slams his hat down onto you. It's a basic combo throw that we've seen many times before. It combos into up air for nice damage. Forward throw is a horizontal hat smack with low end lag. It true combos into dash attack at low percents. Back throw has Deku Link toss the opponent up slightly and bats them away with his hat. Up throw makes a Deku flower appear below the opponent and launches them up out of it. It deals good damage, but it's mostly base knockback, so it needs help from a low ceiling or platform extension to kill. Neutral air has Deku Link do several front flips like Pikachu's old Nair. It's a basic sex kick, but I gave it a tipper that's slightly stronger just to be different. Forward air is a 2-hit hat smack, acting much like Young Link's but weaker and faster. At first, I wanted up air to be a headbutt, basically Lucas up air. It's not a bad option, it has good coverage, and you could argue it's the most objectively correct choice based on the principle of exaggerating and using the most prominent feature on a character's body that Sakurai himself uses for normals, and I did that a lot by using his hat so much. But I wanted a few more unique moves in this kit. Up air is similar in a lot of ways to Fox's up air. It hits twice, potentially doubling the damage. It's a very strong move on paper if you just look at the percent it does, and the base knockback it has, and the low landing lag. I mean, it's a really tiny move, but it still sounds great. Sadly, the fatal flaw is super low knockback growth, meaning it can't kill unless you're near the top blast zone. It's still a really powerful juggling and combo move, especially against super light characters who are more likely to actually die to this move if you can catch their jump, but to land these kills that Deku Link desperately wants, you've got to figure out how to take the opponent higher. Back air is a horizontal hat smack behind Deku Link that's -2 and combos. Think Inkling back air, but less active frames. As you could guess, it just does not kill. Down air is neat, and it's also one of your most valuable combo moves. Deku Link does a one-legged stomp. It's very fast and has good active frames, but it's very weak, and instead of spiking them, Deku Link bounces off of them and twirls like he's bouncing off water. This twirl buffs his air acceleration. The opponent gets sent up too, and if you read their DI, you can follow up with an aerial. Very stylish and fits his floaty, wispy movement really well. Neutral special is Bubble Blaster, the dirty bubble. It's a projectile that you can charge and store for later. It's slow and floaty, but has a big hitbox when it pops. The reward isn't usually high since it doesn't have much knockback, but the damage is okay thanks to the poison effect it will apply for a few seconds. The gimmick here is that trying to attack the bubble will just make it pop and hurt you, so you'd much rather just avoid it, which is doable since it's really slow, but also Link can follow behind it and try and pressure you into it, so it's certainly not free. A kind of modest projectile, but one that's very valuable in his kit. It costs magic to use, however, so even if the cost is low, spamming the projectile will add up over time. Side special is simply called Bottle. Deku Link pulls out an empty bottle and swipes. This moves him forward a little, and it can hold physical projectiles and store them for later use. If you absorb an energy-based projectile, Link will recover some magic instead of storing it as an attack. But you can do more than just take projectiles. You can also trap fighters hit by the swipe and choose when you want to release them.
We're gonna open a jar. Easy.
Kinda. Deku Link can walk around while carrying a bottled foe, but he can't perform any other attacks, and he can't double jump. Carrying someone in a bottle also gradually drains his magic and slows him down proportional to how heavy his victim is, which can be slow enough to be barely mobile at all. Frame advantage also scales with weight, so you won't be able to get any follow-ups on the heavier characters in the roster. So lots of strings attached, but still a very good and, more importantly, very funny move.
Also, it's a command group, I forgot to mention that.
Up special is called Flower Flight. Deku Link burrows into a Deku Flower and shoots up into the sky. You can charge it to control how high you want to go, as well as hold left or right to influence the launch a bit. Link has damage-based armor while charging it, as well as full intangibility at the start of the launch, making it pretty tricky to edgeguard. It's a bit slow, but if you want to recover low, then this is by far the best recovery of the transformations. The distance is great, and the hitbox above him is nice protection. It launches up, and if you fully charge it, the early hitbox has some pretty gnarly base knockback on top of the whole being invincible thing. At the peak of your jump, you start floating down on flowers. Unlike characters with similar recoveries, Deku Link can't press down to cancel this, making him vulnerable to juggles. Luckily, you can use an aerial or air dodge to cancel it at the cost of a little magic. It'll put you in freefall right after, though. But he has one other method of defense as a last resort. When you hold down or B, he'll... What? Why the hell do I write my scripts like this? He can drop a Deku Nut Bomb. It explodes for good fire damage, like most bombs do. It's big and strong and sends up, but has obvious startup issues, and the nut bombs cost a lot of magic to use. So it's possible to line it up and combo into up air, but that would nearly cost your whole magic bar and might miss. And you know, I really should be satisfied with all that. It's a pretty packed move. But I wanted to add one last feature. When used midair, the flower will go away after you launch yourself. But on the ground, the flower will linger on stage for several seconds. Jumping near the flower makes your full hop go higher. It lets you do cool stuff you normally can't due to his low jumps. There's definitely a learning curve, and it might be extra, but I just think it's cool. Down special is Magic Spores. Deku Link pulls a magic mushroom out of a bottle and then blows on it to release spores at a diagonal angle. On the ground, it goes diagonal up, while in the air, they go diagonal down. At first, I picked the Deku Husk thing as a shield and reflector, but I thought it was a little too simple and boring, especially because the bottle already reflects projectiles. I also really wanted a way for him to stall midair and mix up his movement. This move stalls your descent and pops you up a little, so with B reversing and wave bouncing, you can get really tricky with this move and use it to approach or edgeguard. But it has to be used somewhat sparingly as it costs a chunk of your magic meter, and the frame data looks like this, which is not amazing. Definitely you'd expect better for a move like this, but it's warranted. What do I mean by that? Well, this move's kind of a stretch, so bear with me. Magic Mushroom is definitely forest adjacent. You'll find them in the Lost Woods and the swamp, so it's not unrelated to the Dekus, it's just an unexpected pick, since it doesn't do much in Majora's Mask. But what we're gonna do here is basically combine it with the version from A Link to the Past. In that game, the Magic Mushroom can be made into... dun-dun-dun, the Magic Powder. A recurring item in the Zelda series that has the mysterious power to transform objects and enemies into other things. So for this moveset, we're going to assume the spores of this mushroom have the same magical properties. The move has various applications, some of which are more silly than actually useful. If used against a projectile, it will turn it into a random food item. If used against an opponent who's been flowered or mushroomized, it will cure them, but then roll a chance for instant death. But mainly, when used against a fighter, in a competitive setting, the move will transform them by changing their size for 3 seconds. It has a 90% chance to make them tiny and a 10% chance to make them big. The big effect will really screw you over, so be mindful about relying on this move too much, but making the opponent tiny is an incredibly powerful and fascinating effect to have on a character, especially on one of the smallest and weakest characters in the game. This move potentially fixes his main problem of having no kill power, but requires you to be in the opponent's shoes and try and chase down this tiny opponent, which can be hard since you only have 3 seconds. But if you can get your hands on them, your kit is designed to kill them pretty easily. You can do jab jab down smash, you can do up tilt up air, maybe down throw up air? Or you can just do an up throw and that'll more than likely just kill if they're at high enough percent. But the absolute funniest part of turning the opponent tiny is trying to go for a bottle.
Now you try. First get a jar.
It's hard to line up because you're trying to hit a tiny character with a tiny hitbox, but it's so worth it. Bottle is perfect against tiny opponents because they're super light, meaning they'll hardly slow you down, and they won't drain your magic much while you're carrying them around. The opponent can't grow while they're in the bottle, so they're more or less just at your mercy. Deku Link can also down taunt while he's doing this to you, which makes him shake you around in the bottle, just adding a lot more salt to the wounds. I think it's hilarious how much of an asshole Deku Link can be. I'm happy with how much synergy his moves have and how surprisingly complete he feels despite being attached to a larger team. I went through several designs for Deku Link, but I wasn't happy with them until I came up with this down B. But I wasn't happy for very long because someone pointed out to me that I already did this gimmick with Dr. Mario. And, listen, it's been 3 years, I completely forgot I even did that. And looking back, I don't really like its implementation anymore, to be honest. I still like that moveset, but I don't like that part. I don't think it fits Dr. Mario's kit nearly as well compared to this, which I actually tuned everything around. So, what we're gonna do here is called a retcon. I never did that. This is the first time I've done this gimmick, and Dr. Mario now has different effects. Do we agree? Poof. Alright, glad we're on the same page. Let's move on. Gorons are a peaceful but powerful race in Zelda, and they're basically the result of combining a sumo wrestler with a boulder. If they do choose violence, they typically attack by rolling up into a ball and crushing you. Their visual design kinda tells the full story here. They're the classic slow but strong guys. His skin color changes slightly depending on the young Link alt picked. If you pick Orange Link, your tunic stays green, but you get a bright orange skin tone reminiscent of Tengo, and if you pick Light Blue Link, your skin becomes a bluish green that references King Dodongo. Goron Link is very expressive. For example, he looks jolly when performing many of his attacks. He has a goofy side to him. Up taunt has Goron Link rip a rock from the ground and eat it. Holding the taunt button has him sprinkle Goron Spice onto the rock first. The animation can't be cancelled if you do the long version, but that one heals 7% as a reward. Side taunt has Goron Link play the Goron Lullaby. Similar to Deku Link, it can be cancelled, but letting it play out completely gives you a little magic boost. Down taunt lets him perform a Goron dance. There's surprisingly multiple to choose from. The Gorons definitely like to dance, but I'm going with Daronia's dance, cause it's a classic. Goron Link is very large. He's about as big as King K. Rool. He is the new heaviest character in the game. Yes, even heavier than Bowser. He is the definition of a big boy. He's as heavyweight as a heavyweight can be, combining aspects of Bowser, DK, Honda, as well as his own ideas to further establish himself into this classic archetype. Way back when I went over DK, I mentioned how he's one of a couple super heavyweights who can carry big objects as normal items. Goron Link is the mystery character. He's big, sturdy, and hits like an erupting volcano, but his disadvantage state is atrocious. Just one combo or juggling opportunity, and he might never touch the ground again. That makes it hard to switch characters because you need to be on the ground. So I decided he'd be designed to stay on the ground and fight for center stage so he can abuse his absurd tankiness and make the most out of the time he has an advantage state. Another big help is that his aerials are powerful and have a lot of coverage. And if that doesn't work, he has super armor out the ass and the sheer mass to live through hits no one else could take. Even though he's generally pretty sluggish, it's not all bad. He's got a great jump height and he's a semi-fast faller. His airspeed also isn't as bad as you'd expect, but his air acceleration is pretty horrible, so be careful about making turns. The last nice trait he's got is access to a crawl. He can slowly roll back and forth to space better. Also, look at his funny crouch. What you so grumpy for, cutie? Jab is the 3-hit Goron Punch. Despite being a jab, it kills pretty early and has invincibility on his back during Jab 3. But Jab is slow. You can hold A to skip Jab 1 and 2 and just use the back bump. I wanted to give him this as an easy way to break through walls where an opponent is trying to outspace you. Just don't be predictable or you'll be punished hard. Forward tilt is a double hammer fist slam. It has a tipper and an inner sour spot with similar strength but different launch angles. The inner hitbox simply knocks them up and away, while the tipper sends it a shallow semi-spike if they're in the air. If they're on the ground, it will actually bury opponents. It's not a very fast move though, and that's a trend with many of his attacks. Up tilt has him kneel down and do a backhanded slap with good power, good speed even, but awful coverage. This only hits diagonally and can be easily ducked, so it only really has two use cases. One is swatting jump-in attempts because the move has generous intangibility on startup, and two is shield poking people on platforms because he's a big boy and he can comfortably pressure platforms with this move. And because of the ledge slip mechanics, that could actually lead to a kill. Down tilt is a simple open hand strike he does while squatting. It's one of his weakest moves, but it's fast and safe and can poke in neutral due to his long intangible arms. It even sets up tech chases, which is scary. Dash attack has him throw his entire body into a flying headbutt. It comes out quick and deals a lot of damage. I'm sure you can see where this is going. He flies forward and he's able to dodge low-hitting attacks because he's off the ground. This move is able to go off of ledges too. What's interesting is that if he misses, he falls flat on his face and eats a potentially massive punish. But if he lands dash attack or even hits a shield, then he bounces off of them. He curls up into a ball and can drift left or right to make his dash attacks safer. Forward smash has him hop forward and butt slam on you. It's obviously very slow, but very strong and has damage-based armor. He moves forward a little bit so it can be used to hop off of platforms. The move can be tricky to deal with because it ignores shield. Doesn't break them either. Nah, it's just not blockable. The last neat quirk it has is that it's a bit more powerful when used on buried opponents. Honestly, it's not a very helpful property. You can miss it if they mash well, and the move is already crazy strong, so the power boost is way past overkill. But shut up, man, that won't stop me from fishing for it. It's a fun move, just don't get right up against the ledge and, you know, keep yourself safe. Up smash is pretty much a copy of Sonic's up smash, bar for bar. The only major difference is that it's a single hit. It's a tragically slow move, however that comes with a lot of active frames. The move's fairly large, it's obviously very powerful, and Link remains entirely invincible while it's active. Down smash once again borrows from our roly friend Sonic. Down smash is similar to Brawl Sonic's down smash. Goron Link backs up, rolls forward, then jumps back in place. It's not as powerful as his other smash attacks, but it's refreshingly fast and absolutely massive. It's definitely a much safer option to use, especially by the ledge. His grabs have great range and frame data, making it scary to shield versus him. All 4 of Goron Link's throws can kill. Pummel is a tight Goron hug. Down throw is the stone ground pound. It's the most powerful down throw in the game, having devastating base knockback. The issue is that the kill power goes out the window the further away you stand from the ledge. Forward throw has Goron Link throw the opponent with one arm like a football. Less base knockback than down throw, but more growth, so eventually it'll be a better kill option if you're further from the ledge. Back throw has Goron Link toss his opponent up and behind him, then he swivels his hips into them with Dragon Warrior Force to send them flying with a big happy grin. Up throw is the pizza toss. Link tosses the enemy up with both hands. It also combos at low to mid %. Neutral air is similar to Brawl Wolf Snare. Goron Link does several front flips to attack, and the early and late hits function very differently. The first frame is a big clean hit with strong horizontal knockback and invincibility, but if you don't land the early hit, the Nair actually hits multiple times, ending with a much weaker launcher. Forward air has him throw a hook that starts pretty low and ends high. It's kinda like Craig's up air, so it's good for catching jumps. It's very strong and has a lot of reach, but high end lag. Up air is the strongest slap in the universe. Link loads up his hand behind his head and smacks you hard enough that you meet God. It has the most startup of any up air, but sends straight forward and kills stupid early, especially on the hand, which is a sweet spot. I need this move! It's so funny! I want to use it! But back air has Link thrust backwards to slam into people. It's got low range, but compensates for that with invincibility. It also comes out decently fast, but might put you off stage where you're vulnerable. Down air is based on the Goron pound. It makes Link curl up into a ball and hurl himself downward. It has a good mix of speed and power, with the exception of the heavy landing lag. Luckily, he has a couple of things that make it more flexible. It has armor, big hitboxes including when landing, and when you hit the ground, you bounce, so you can drift left or right. With some help from platforms, you can hit the ground and roll off to avoid a punish. So don't risk your stock off stage thinking you'll get a cool spike clip, because you're gonna die. It doesn't spike because you're supposed to use the move on stage. He's a ground character, yeah, you get it. For neutral special, a hammer was tempting, but it made more sense to have Goron Link pull out the Giant's Knife. You can charge it and cancel it whenever, but the charge isn't stored. The grounded version is a spin attack with monstrous power, while the aerial version is a horizontal sword swipe with more speed. Either way, it's gargantuan and has super armor. The air version in particular being so strong and safe makes it tempting to spam, but the Giant's Knife breaks into pieces when the attack connects, consuming magic in the process. It's basically like having Cloud back air tied to a resource. Ooh, I should remember that for Cloud. Side special is Goron Roll. Now don't mistake it for a tasty sushi recipe and let your guard down. If you thought Goron Link seemed unviable before, this should clear up why I made his neutral game so bad outside of Down Tilt and Giant's Knife. Because I gave a super heavy spin dash. That'll get me sent to hell. However, he's a little more vulnerable than Sonic, mostly at the startup. It's also just harder to camp with him because of his kit. Like Sonic, you hold side B to charge it up, but you move forward slightly while charging on the ground until you release the move. It has a small charge hitbox so you can combo into the actual roll, but it's negatively disjointed so it shouldn't cause too many issues. When you release B, the roll attack has damage-based armor, which can make it incredibly annoying. Still, with good timing, there's counterplay. Unfortunately for you, however, that only applies to the start of the roll. After rolling a certain distance, Goron Link becomes covered in spikes. This makes him invincible, much faster, turn better, and hit harder at the cost of rapidly draining his magic. So yeah, stop him! The longer he charges side B, the less distance he needs to become spiky. And obviously, this spiky form is very overwhelming and immediately threatening. But at least it costs magic. You can't spam it. The normal version though is still insanely good and doesn't even cost anything. This move is a massive pain in the ass. You can also jump, but you'll exit ball form and have no hitbox. It's still a fun option since you can retain your momentum from the roll, leading to copious shenanigans. Imagine you're trying to recover from across the stage. You look up and see a 7,000-pound boulder man jumping straight into you at the speed of sound, about to slap you into a fine red mist. You'd probably shit yourself. Up special is the final Goron Pound move. Got a lot of mileage out of this, but it ends here. It's called Living Meteor. Link jumps up and forward, and when you release B, he turns into a ball and crashes down. He comes down covered in fire like a comet entering the atmosphere, and he leaves a crater in the floor on impact. He can't move until he reaches a ledge or solid ground, and he'll pass through platforms on the way down. Seems cool, but in my opinion, this is not a great recovery for a couple of reasons. The distance isn't bad, but it's very rigid and linear. It's hard to mix up your options off stage, and you have to be careful not to get pineappled. Another massive issue is that the move doesn't have a hitbox on the way up, meaning there's no real way to confirm into the falling hit. And the frame data is overall very poor, as you could probably guess. That all sounds really bad. Now the bright side is that Living Meteor is hard to edgeguard due to him having super armor on the way up. It snaps to ledge pretty generously too and doesn't cost any magic, which is really nice. And of course, probably the most obvious strength, you can just tell by looking at it, is that the move's very powerful. Living Meteor has a big scary spike hitbox on him that's active until he lands, but you only get spiked if you're in the air. If Link lands directly on a grounded opponent with this move, he'll bury them for ages. It has a big ol' landing hitbox too for good measure. Shielding both hits will cause a shield break. It has a cool niche over down airs since you can use the platform phasing property to land only the bury hitbox and then have enough time to land a follow-up. You should never try to challenge this move because he's completely invincible on the way down and even for a few frames when he lands. Still, the counterplay is pretty simple, and I thought the move was modest enough to not require a magic limitation. Down special is interesting. When I think of Gorons, I think of Death Mountain, and my mind wanders to the bomb flowers they grow there. Gorons use explosives to mine for food, but then I start to get a little carried away, and remember Gorons are capable of handling much bigger explosions than these things. Down B is a powder keg. If you've played Majora's Mask, then you should be very afraid right now. And if you haven't, then listen close. It's an explosion, but not a contact explosion. Like in Majora's Mask, this bomb requires extreme care to handle. It costs nearly your entire magic meter to use, so it's a huge commitment. You have to be smart if you want to use this move. It cannot and should not be used often, but when it's in play, everyone will be feeling very tense. It spawns in front of Link already lit and automatically explodes after 11 seconds. And if you happen to be in the way, then you die. The mechanics behind it differ slightly from the blast box. It has physics. It rolls and gets launched by other moves like Big Link's remote bombs. You can attack it lightly to roll it a little bit, or use big strong moves to launch it across the map. It's a heavy item too, but it's weirdly floaty. Since it's an item, you can walk around and throw it to manually position it where you want, but it doesn't really matter because all three of these options are equally risky. Every time the keg takes any amount of damage or hits the floor, it has a chance to explode. Smash has a system where you can throw items lighter or harder by doing a smash input, so as long as you don't smash throw it, you can reduce its chance to explode when it hits the floor. But reduced isn't zero. If you want to take that risk, you can try throwing it at someone, but making contact doesn't always make it explode, so that could backfire on you. And if Link runs, full hops, or Goron rolls, he'll drop the powder keg, which has a chance to explode. Interacting with this thing is horrifying and unpredictable. One good way to guarantee the explosion is to use any fire attack, which will make it instantly explode. The blast radius isn't small, but it's not as big as you might expect. That's okay, because the power more than makes up for it. I've hyped it up a couple times without really explaining, but these kegs are some of the strongest explosives in the game, being on par with Sephiroth's Giga Flare. But the nice thing is that Goron Link is one of the best characters at playing around the massive threat of Powder Keg. He's the heaviest character in the game, so if both of you blow up, he's able to live more often than you. And like I mentioned at the start, he's one of the few characters who can carry around heavy items like normal items, meaning he has a greater degree of control over the keg than you probably do. Also, thanks to his up special being technically a fire move, and also completely invincible, he can crash down into it and trigger an explosion without taking any damage. This setup is particularly powerful on the ledge because it catches jumps. I really love how well these two moves work together, and I think that Goron Link was overall one of the most fun characters I've ever designed. It's really cool to be able to make a classic heavyweight without worrying about how he deals with rushdowns, because worst comes to worst, he has his other forms. He's not stuck. Here we have an Ocean Zora, who used to be the guitarist of a famous band. The Zora tribe come in a dizzying number of different colors, shapes, and sizes. The Zora almost always live in or around water, and can thrive in fresh or saltwater environments. This choice is mainly because of their biology. Many of their abilities revolve around water, so they're not very threatening on land. Zora Link was by far the hardest to design for, and went through 3 drastically different designs. One of those became a different character that might become its own video someday. He delayed this video many times, but in the end, it was all worth it, because this is my favorite of his forms. He can be tricky to play effectively because he's really demanding on a mental and technical level, but with the right plays, you can be an impenetrable wall. Playing him requires careful spacing, patience, and managing your resources wisely, but Zora Link heavily rewards you for doing so and has some of the most unique combo routes in the game. His skin color, or scale color, changes quite a lot depending on the young Link alt picked. Red Link is going to make him look a bit like Sidon or Mipha. Dark blue changes the skirt thingy and head fin. The white alt makes his scales more gray and gives him lighter blue accents. Pink makes him pink, and that's cute. Orange turns him into a brown Zora, and Dark Link turns him black and white like an orca. When he fights, he has a certain elegance to him, and his animations are pretty calm and composed, but he lets loose for a few of them since he was a rock star after all. Uptaunt has Link pose like Sidon. While they've never interacted, I'm using them all to represent these races as a whole in the Zelda series. They're iconic in their own right, and it's a shame that they're not in Smash outside of the odd trophy or spirit. Side Taunt has Zora Link play the new wave Bossa Nova. It slightly restores magic, as you've come to expect. Down Taunt has Link try writing a new song on the spot. He plucks the strings on his guitar, but it's way out of tune. He plays 4 randomly generated notes before becoming very unhappy with how it sounds and smashing his guitar on the spot, which has a hitbox. Zora Link is tall and skinny. His weight is also quite average. Zora Link is a very versatile form that excels at controlling space. He has the most range of the 3 forms, as well as a projectile and a good combo game, so he's always a safe bet. He has quick and disjointed attacks thanks to his fins. When extended, the fins can grow and stretch to suit the attack's needs. Zora are known to take many different shapes and sizes, Zora Link himself included. Something that they're also well known for is control over water. Link uses water at the end of his fin attacks to further extend the reach, and these act as a sweet spot just like Marth. Okay, I lied about that being well known, but it is actually something Zoras are capable of as of the Switch era. Zoras being capable of hydromancy is just really cool. I'm glad that the game finally confirmed that. Doesn't matter, I was gonna do it anyway. I was just happy when I found out it was lore accurate. As a zoner, and as a fish, Zora Link is nothing special on the ground. Initial dash, run speed, and turnaround frames are all different shades of average. He's generally a marginal improvement over Hylian Link. He's also the form with the lowest traction, because he's all wet. In the air, however, he fares a bit better, being a floaty-ish character with decent air stats and an okay jump height. When playing on certain stages, Zora Link can swim along the surface of the water faster than other characters and can go twice as long without drowning. This is a subtle reference to the fact that he's a fish. Jab is the elegant 3-hit Zora combo. It's not the most interesting jab ever, but the second hit has low end lag and the third hit moves you forward, making it connect reliably even at range. Forward tilt has him slash outwards with both fins hitting twice up close. Someone said it reminded them of the breaststroke, which I thought was a cute coincidence. Seems pretty unassuming, but it's actually one of his best moves thanks to its massive disjoint and decent startup. Although the first active frame is close range only, so it doesn't get its full range until a frame later. But other than that, the frame data just gets better. It ends very quickly and has some of the most range of any F-tilt in the game between Shulk and Sephiroth. This attack can be angled too, making it good for stuffing opponents from above and 2-frame. And if you thought that maybe the weakness would be power, well remember that all his fin moves have a nice water sweet spot at the tip that connect the kills. And the water hitbox on this move is particularly big, so you won't really have a hard time landing it. Some moves just don't have weaknesses, it's fine, man. The move really helps this whole playstyle come together. Up tilt has Zoralink twirl and swipe above him once with an extended forearm fin. It's like Falco's, but bigger, stronger, and single hit. It struggles to hit short characters, but it's such a potent anti-air and juggle tool that it kinda doesn't matter. Down tilt has him slide forward a short distance on his knees like a passionate rock star. It's weak and doesn't go off edges, but it's fast, can 2-frame, crosses up shield, and shield pokes, so that's enough. Dash attack has Zoralink dive forward and spin, making a whirlpool. Another move that's here more so to look pretty than to hold his kit together. Forward smash is Zoralink's overhead kick. It's like Fox's F smash, but he jumps up higher off the ground, meaning he can anti-air and hop over low moves. It also goes off edges. This makes Deku Link the only Link to have a forward smash that doesn't go off edges. Do with that information what you will. Up smash uses both of his arm fins to slice above him with a sweet spot right above his head. Now, he actually slices inwards, meaning it ends behind his head with this fabulous pose. It has a pretty funky launch angle, basically sending them to the sides until it reaches the sweet spot where it sends up. The sweet spot has an ice effect, which is neat, but it doesn't have a chance to freeze, so it's whatever. Down smash uses his fins for a front to back slash attack. Imagine that! His front hit's range is average, but the back hit extends his fins a lot, giving him massive reach. The sweet spot is also quite strong. Zoralink uses the hook shot to grab. He couldn't actually do this in Majora's Mask, but it fit the moveset better, so I did it anyway. I just think a tether grab fits his zoner playstyle pretty nicely. Zoralink's hookshot has different frame data, and it's gold like the one in Majora's Mask. His grabs have more range, but slightly more startup. Zair is a bit longer than Hylian Link's and knocks people away. Zoralink keeps Young Link's down throw. Forward throw is a weaker version of Pit's. The kill power is pretty similar to Young Link's though. Back throw is the same as Hylian Link. Up throw has Zoralink toss the opponent up, and leaping roundhouse kicks them. It looks cool, but it doesn't really do much except eventually kill. Neutral Air is an elegant pirouette that turns Link into a beautiful whirlwind of sharp edges and bubbles. It's a single hit with sex kick properties, so it's fast, safe, and kills. There's a tip or two, but I'm done with the math. My head hurts. Forward air was hard for me. I decided to make fair a slash from low to high that really stretches the limit for how big it can make the fin. It comes out really fast, it's safe, and it has a lot of coverage similar to Mithra Fair. It has many of the same strengths as Mithra Fair, but it has more end lag, and a really bad case of Marth syndrome, where the sweet spot is strong, but the sour spot is so weak it just never kills. And that's a real flaw this time, because the sweet spot isn't as big as his other moves. You get the first active frame, which is generous, and the rest of the move is strict. And while it has a lot of range, the hurt box makes it comparatively less disjointed. And the nail in the coffin is that the sour spot has low hit stun, so it's not the best combo tool and can even get you punished sometimes. Up air was also difficult, but I gave him a flip kick with both feet based on his N64 jump attack. It functions like Ganondorf's up air, but with the early to late hits being closer in power. This move gives him a lot of good launch angles, but they're all to the side of him. Still, who can be mad with another fast, safe kill move? Back air hits twice. He starts by slashing up behind him, then twirls and does it again with the other fin. Say it with me now, this move is fast, safe, and kills. The active hitboxes make it excellent for walling people out. The tipper is powerful, but much like fair, it can be hard to land, and the sour spot's weak. Down air looks like a dive. Zoralink goes upside down and does a multi-hit corkscrew into an attack where he spreads his arms out, creating a rainbow trail. It's a helpful drill move because of its high damage and large active hitboxes, but it has 3 downsides. It's not that fast, it doesn't spike, and it also doesn't have a landing hitbox. However, you can do a host of things on or off stage when you learn to fast fall to avoid the last hit and combo it into quicker moves. Before I get into Zoralink's specials, I want to talk about Smash's water physics. I know, I hate to go on an unrelated tangent, but I'll be quick! And the list goes on! This is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to ways to make counterplay in the water more engaging. But let's stop talking about swimming. Who cares, right? He can swim good. Doesn't really have anything to do with this moveset, so let's jump back into Zoralink's specials. Neutral special is complicated, to say the least. If you don't mind, I'd actually like to start talking about the other special moves, and then we'll return to this one. Side special is called Fin Boomerangs. It's not very complicated. He has fins and they're boomerangs. It has 3 different launch angles it can be thrown at. Tilting Side B has Link swipe one arm horizontally, shooting one fin straight ahead. It's fast and doesn't cost any magic. Doing a smash input makes him shoot both fins, adding an extra hit, doubling the damage. It's slower, but goes further and alters the return path, boosting the move's coverage. Pretty tricky, but either way, they both return to you in the middle. This move costs barely any magic, so use it a lot. It's a simple, reliable projectile, and combining these with his long-range normals makes it really tough for opponents to get in on you. However, using any of your fin attacks while the boomerangs are still out will instantly make them disappear since you need them for your attack. Up special is called Dolphin's Grace. It's based on the jump Zora Link uses to breach the water's surface. He leaps into the air with elegance and flair. Yes, I declare it's okay to stare at beauty like this, for nothing compares. Sorry. During a brief startup period, you can pick any direction you want, then hop to it. He moves very fast, however, Dolphin's Grace lacks a hitbox, and it doesn't have as much distance on it as you'd like. So it's a bit linear and easy to intercept, and honestly just kinda crappy, but are there any redeeming qualities besides being fast? Well, yes, actually. First of all, I lied when I said it has no hitbox. It doesn't have a hitbox on startup, or while he's traveling, or falling, but when he crashes into something like a floor, he makes a splash, which can help once, probably. Another more helpful trait is the fact that he can special cancel any of his aerials into up B. This means he can go for deep edge guards and instantly up B to the ledge and bypass the high end lag he has on some of his aerials. What a strange change to make. I'm sure I did that for no reason. Down special is kinda weird if you never played Majora's Mask, but yeah, this fish has the ability to cover himself in electricity on some Blanca shit. The move is officially called Barrier. Bit of a lame-ass name if you ask me. I would've called it Eel Armor, or Shaki Sakai Suit or something, but it is what it is. Barrier. It's a lightning-fast electric shield that you hold down and release with B. It grants full body intangibility, and while held, Barrier has a pulsing hitbox that flinches opponents and deals damage, like Ness's Magnet. But unlike him, Link has a finisher when you release B. He discharges the electricity, which is bigger and laggier, but has some kill potential. You don't get all the crazy tricks Ness has since you don't have a floaty double jump, but it's still really easy to combo into. Oh yeah, also Barrier destroys projectiles that come in contact with it. Almost forgot. Is that why it's called Barrier? Anyway, move's broken, right? It would be, but it eats up magic like a Chuck E. Cheese ticket muncher, especially the release hitbox. Still, it expands your combo routes and lets him play a lot more flexibly. And cherry on top is that the pulsing hitbox can be cancelled into up B if you have good timing. That bypasses the finisher and saves you some magic. But why do I keep doing that? It doesn't change his game plan or unlock many new options for him. It's pretty much just a cheeky edgeguard every once in a while and allows him to combo Barrier into the splat hitbox of up B. Well, I'm sure you have the lingering question of what his neutral B is and if it relates to this. Well, like I said, it's rather complicated, so let's unpack it. Neutral Special was the one that stumped me for literal months. This move was originally a lot more centralizing, but after hearing some opinions, I eventually took their criticism and reworked it. Maybe we'll see that one again someday, but this move is called Zora's Domain. And it's pretty funny. Zora's Domain is a bubble. It's also a charge move. It takes a long time to charge though. The charge level is indicated by this little yellow moon above his head that waxes. The bubbles will grow bigger and cost more magic depending on the charge level. You can sometimes get by with a mostly charged bubble, but 9 out of 10 times you want the full charge, which is a massive commitment because it costs most of your magic meter to use. While it can be stored to finish later, the charge level will slowly decrease on its own, so you have to keep working on charging it throughout the course of the stock. This can be sidestepped by switching masks, because then the charge level stays frozen. The move controls a lot like the new PK Flash I gave to Ness if you remember that. You hold neutral B to charge a bubble, then hold a direction to start steering it, and the move won't charge while steering. Once you're happy with your spot, you can release B to make it stick in place. It can stay anywhere on the map. A neat detail is that if you place the water bubble so that the edges touch the floor, then surface tension will snap the bubble into place, creating a dome that covers just a little bit more space. But what is this thing? Why are you going through all the effort to charge this unwieldy bubble, and just how powerful is it to require all this time and magic? Well,
Zora's Domain
is a contained zone of water that completely changes how the game works once active. It controls a massive area that helps him combo, debilitate the opponent, and keep them right where he wants them. It has a lot of rules and interacts with his other moves in interesting ways. It doesn't act the same as stage water, so you can't drown or swim in it. And when people are trapped in his domain, their movement is slowed by half their normal speed. This slowdown isn't as effective as the timer item and not even close to as bad as Bayo's Witch Time, but being half as fast as you usually are means that his average speed stats still outspeed the hell out of you. Oh yeah, that's the other problem. Everyone and everything caught in Zora's domain becomes slower except for Zora Link, including projectiles. So if you thought you could wait out Zora's domain by chucking projectiles through the bubble, you'd be wrong, as he can easily react to the projectiles thrown. And his own projectiles? They get buffed from the bubble. When his boomerangs pass through, they increase in speed and gain larger hitboxes since they get covered in water. So how exactly do you deal with this? How do you get rid of
Zora's Domain!
Well, it does go away on its own. After 10 seconds, it starts shrinking and disappears peacefully, but 10 seconds is kind of a long time. Thankfully, there's a second way. If you attack the bubble from the outside with a non-projectile hitbox, it will make it shrink faster. Just be aware that disrupting the bubble like this will cause it to explode at the end, which adds chaos. But the problem is that Zora's domain can only be attacked from the outside, so if you're getting her ass beat in the bubble, there's very little you can do except try to escape. Zora Link can also attack the bubble, but he has an extra option that the opponent doesn't. If Zora Link hits the bubble with one of his tippers, then Zora's domain will expand instead of shrinking. It doesn't increase or decrease the timer, it just makes the explosion hitbox at the end bigger and harder to avoid. But it presents an interesting risk versus reward opportunity for Zora Link, as this expansion temporarily gives him more space to control and combo the opponent with, but using it is risky because if he messes up, then he'll explode with the opponent and potentially kill himself. However, I think it would usually be worth making use of this expansion as his mobility is a lot better than I let on. It's not just that your mobility is bad, which makes his look good. No, his is actually just cracked when he's in the water, and that's because of up B. Out of the water, it wasn't the best, but when he uses it to dive into the bubble, he can zip around making tight turns and flying like Superman. While he's in the water, it has very low end lag and doesn't put him into freefall. And remember, this move can be special cancelled from his aerials and barrier. It's what allows him to completely dominate in the water and bounce opponents from one end to the other like he's a Dragon Ball Z character. So yeah, weird move. I probably need to work on it more despite months of brainstorming. Like, maybe I could scrap the bubble steering and have it just spawn around him, but I think that just about covers all you need to know about Zora's domain. It's a terrifying ability, and no one else on the roster has anything like it. It's something you have to commit to and build towards like Exodia, and has such an unhinged degree of risk and reward that it might get addicting to try and pull it off. I think a lot of people would find one particular mask form that they like the most and be sad you can't just stick with that one the whole time, but even though it would probably be fun if you could just pick one, these characters would be pretty unbalanced if you automatically regenerated magic and didn't have to juggle the other forms. I'd have to completely rebalance them, and I might not even be able to let them keep the more powerful abilities like Powder Keg and Zora's Domain. So hopefully you understand why they ended up like this, and you still find them fun as a team and not just on their own. Speaking of powerful abilities, I had trouble coming up with the final smash. My gut instinct was to have Link play the Song of Double Time and speed up a 3-day cycle till the moon crashes into the stage, since that's easily the most cinematic idea. But god damn it, Ultimate introduced the moon as a shitty assist trophy. Well, time to get creative. Instead of direct references, I want to make something original from the themes and lore that Majora's Mask established. It's a cutscene Final Smash, but I don't have the budget to properly show you what's in my head, so hey, no, we're not doing that! This isn't just laziness. I'm being earnest, and I really believe your imagination is a good medium for this. So close them, and no peeking. Seemingly out of nowhere, the happy mask salesman comes frantically running straight ahead. He grabs the first person that gets in his way and starts violently shaking them. A new image fades into the screen, one of your chosen fighter in a pitch-black abyss having an absolutely horrified look on their face. Meanwhile, you can hear an ocarina playing some eerie music in the background. The cherry on top is the mask salesman's famous quote appearing on screen as you can hear a distorted scream from the opponent. Now normally, that's that. Maybe you can walk it off. However, similar to Joker, if you hit an opponent that's over 100% on their last stock, then you'll be able to see what you just did to them. You trapped their soul in a mask using a reverse Song of Healing, and after it drops to the floor, the happy mask salesman picks it up and vanishes, leaving you with a quiet, empty windscreen. Brutal! What do you think? You can open your eyes, by the way. Maybe creepy, maybe cheesy, but hopefully memorable. I always thought the Song of Unhealing was actually a real thing, because some of the songs in the game can be played backwards to reverse their effect. It's kind of like a tarot card, so the idea here is that because he's using this song to free people's souls, this instead curses their soul and binds them into becoming a cursed mask, much like Majora. And the Happy Mask Salesman is all about that. So yeah, done and done. Bye.
But wait! Where's Fierce Deity Link? That's the most iconic mask and possibly the most legendary transformation in Zelda! I had one expectation!
Yeah, calm down. I told you this moveset was full of secrets. Young Link gets a hidden Final Smash. After breaking a Smash Ball, press Shield Special to unlock the missing mask on your menu. This allows you to turn into Fierce Deity Link, the 5th transformation in Young Link's moveset, besides Adult Link, I guess. Anyway, Fierce Deity Link lasts a mere 30 seconds, but Fierce Deity is hilariously broken, and I think everyone's okay with that. He's enormous, having that Sephiroth build, but much heavier. His frame data is fast. He has drastically improved movement stats too. His powers are largely unexplained and his normals are similar to Adult Link, so I decided to just talk about his special moves. Neutral Special is a chargeable sword beam that he fires out of his sword when he stabs forward. It's very strong, its simplicity only aiding its power. Side Special is an original move called Lens of Truth. Fierce Deity Link dual wields his Helix Sword and the Great Fairy Sword. It's not something he could do in Majora's Mask, but the two swords look similar and are both special swords, so I thought it'd be cool. This move is chargeable, and has Fierce Deity Link walking forward while slashing fast enough that the eye can't track him. When he does it midair, he just walks on nothing. Pretty sick. Up special is just a buffed spin attack. I guess it's possible to edgeguard Fierce Deity Link, which is funny to think about. Down special is called Hero God Stance, and emulates Z-targeting from the N64 games. It locks onto one player and gives Link an auto turnaround state like Ryu, but you can press it again to lock onto a different player, letting him use it in free-for-alls. This stance greatly cuts his speed, but enables him to fire full-screen sword beams that paralyze on hit, from every swing of his sword. It also enhances the power and size of his neutral beam. If you can't negate these projectiles or parry like Daigo, consider yourself dead on the spot. We've reached the end of what Young Link has to offer. No more tricks, no more secrets. He's the most jam-packed character so far, and maybe the most detailed Smash redesign ever made. I have a feeling many of you will have strong opinions on this episode, but please keep in mind, this is a thought experiment for fun. I understand he's way too ambitious for his own good. He was almost too ambitious for my own good. I understand that making him this way would be way too time-consuming and unrealistic, for mod creators and maybe for Nintendo. And on top of that, I doubt he would be a popular character choice overall, and it would be really hard to ask Young Link players to move to this design because while he has many of the same combos and even some new ones, his overall design and gameplay is completely different and forces you to approach the game in an entirely new way. The current Young Link is popular because he's easy to play but has depth and lots of versatility. This one is incredibly versatile, but is only for the most hardcore and dedicated players out there, people who enjoy winning with a challenge and don't mind stressful gameplay. That's pretty rare, I think, but then again, I'm one of those people. Those are things I enjoy about the characters I play. And I think Young Link would become a beloved character for spectators due to his dynamic gameplay and split-second strategic decisions. So who knows? Maybe he's your kind of character. With all this finally on the table, I'm proud to say I made a moveset that shows Young Link's full potential. It was long and exhausting, but I did it. Before I end the video, I'd like to thank a few people. While I may have been the sole director, editor, and producer, I did not create this alone. I'd like to thank my friends and family for supporting me through some very difficult times in my life. I might have given up on this project without them. I'd also like to thank my fans. You've been so cool and patient during the biggest break in my channel's history, and your loyalty moved me as much as it confused me. It's thanks to you that I've managed to break 800 subs, and I'm sure I can even hit 1K if you share the video. While on break, I didn't forget about my channel and made frequent contact with my Discord, which you can join in the description. It's always busy, we make sure that it's a fun place to be. Everyone please thank Ice Bites and my little sister for providing some of the drawings in this episode. I'm sure it's pretty obvious when I draw something these days. Thank you Nafe and Potato for being great mods. Shout out to Fazdude, Chuckles, Harrymation, Phazo, Meat Mage, and you! I'm excited for my next redesign, as it's someone fans have been waiting for since I began this series. The Great King of Evil, Ganondorf. So subscribe and don't miss out. It'll be out sooner than you think. Till next time, Merry Goddamn Christmas.